Hi, welcome to my tutorial. Today I am focusing on how to create a basic design using Canva. This tutorial is geared toward non-color designs for sublimation as the end result, and I'm actually making this video so that my Beta Club students can have a guide to using Canva in order to create designs for a fundraiser event. If you are viewing this and you are not in the Beta Club and you're not working on the fundraiser, you can still use and apply a lot of this tutorial. Just ignore anything that I share geared towards Beta Club. So the first step is to open an internet tab and go to canva.com. Canva is a great program for designing, and I'll post more in-depth tutorials later about that shows a little bit more about Canva and goes more in depth. But for now, I'm just going to focus on the surface and making simple designs. Canva allows you to be creative, and you can design from scratch, or if you need inspiration, you can just recreate a design that you may have seen somewhere else. Alright, so next you go to the upper right corner and click on Create a Design in the big purple box. You'll find a variety of template suggestions, and you can even customize your own size. For my betas, let's just use the flyer size in portrait mode, and if it doesn't automatically show up in your drop down, you can type it in. Now you have your blank canvas to work with, and over to the left you're going to see a panel that has a list of options to choose from. You'll probably use the Elements tab a lot when creating designs, and in Elements you'll find lines, shapes, frames, charts. You'll find clip art, even some like static and animated items. Some of these are created directly from Canva and others are by third-party graphic designers, so you have a ton of options, like thousands of options. A lot of them are free, but if you see a little crown symbol by it, that means that you must have Canva Pro to use it. Just to take a quick peek, I just typed in school to get some graphics, and you can see some of the pro items there. Most of them are free, so just, you can play around with it. You can type in different categories to see what you come up with, but it's just a great tool to have. For this tutorial, I am going to make a faith-based design. So I'm going to grab some text, and you can click on any of those text boxes you want. It doesn't really matter because I changed my font anyway. So I'm going to make this a faith shirt, and I'm going to have a few different fonts. So I'm going to separate my text out, and I'm just going to duplicate my text. You can go ahead and add another text box, but you can also duplicate just to make it a little bit quicker. Alright, so I'm going to duplicate it one more time and change my wording. And I'm going to have Faith Can Move Mountains. And then with this text, I'm also going to not only enhance the font, but I'm going to add some elements there that we saw earlier, just to give it a little pizzazz and to make it fun for a t-shirt. So you can click on your font, and then you can go to the top there and change your font. In mine, I have uploaded fonts, but I do believe that's just a Canva Pro option. But even if you don't upload your own font, there are still probably thousands of fonts to choose from. You will again see in this tab that you'll see the little crown next to some of the wording or some of the text, and that means some of the fonts that you can't use those unless you have Canva Pro. But if you look for the ones that do not have the little crown by it, then you can definitely use those. So I'm just going to go through here and pick a few of my favorite fonts and change them up a little bit. I just want to add maybe a little texture to my design. So I'm going to have some fonts cursive and maybe some fonts that are not cursive. So let me just play around with my fonts here and pick what I want, and then we'll move into the elements. You'll see that as I go through my fonts, if I don't like something that I change it to, I just hit the undo button, and that really saves me a lot of time, because if I change it and I don't like it, I don't have to scroll back up to the font that I had a minute ago. All I have to do is hit the undo button, and I can keep moving forward as I'm browsing through these fonts. So that's just a tip that will save a lot of time when you are browsing through fonts. There is a really cool feature with Canva that as you move your elements or your text box around, that you'll see little purple lines that show up on your page. These kind of show you your margins. It shows you if you're centered or off-centered. So when you look for the solid purple line, that means you are in the center. So those are really helpful when you are creating a design and you want to make sure everything is lined up. Another helpful tip is you can click and highlight everything at one time, and it kind of temporarily groups it together, and you can size everything at the same time, either bigger or smaller. And you have the option to group everything together, so if you want to lock it in as a group so everything always stays together and moves together, it makes it a lot easier sometimes when you have a lot of different elements that you're designing. Alright, so now I have all of my wording and my fonts how I want it. So I'm going to go over to the Elements tab, and I'm going to look for some mountains. So I want to make sure I click on Graphics because I don't want photos of mountains. I just want the graphic designs. And all I'm going to do here is click on different mountains. And it looks like this one went behind my text. So let's pull it out here and put my mountains back. Alright, so I'm going to bring the mountains over and size them down a little bit. I'm just trying to get the mountain to kind of fit between the faith text and the mountain text where it's kind of in the middle. And I'm going to duplicate that mountain and flip it. So that way it's the same mountain, but it's on either side of the text, so it looks a little more natural. And then all I'm doing here is just resizing, replacing, putting it in different places to kind of see what it looks like. I definitely like this placing a lot better, where it's down more in the middle. And I highlight everything and group it, and I can move it together. Now what I want to do here is I duplicated it. So I highlighted everything and I duplicated. And the reason I did that is because I like the top one. I'm still not sold on those mountains, and I want to try some more. So I kind of want to save it. I want to keep those mountains, but I also want to look at some others. So I'm going to click on some other mountains and resize those as well and see if I can find something I like better than the original. So I just duplicate those, and I'm going to flip that one around just so it's kind of an opposite reflection. Alright, so I'm not crazy about those, so I'm going to go ahead and delete them. I'm not going to save them. Let me just find another set of mountains and see if I like it a little bit better. So I like this one because it kind of slopes down, and that way it kind of includes all of the text within the mountains. And there's a rotate option. You can see there that I just rotated that design. And I'm going to see, kind of change my text around and duplicate that, and then flip it again so it's an opposite reflection. And then try to get it to where it's evenly placed. And there is a little thing at the bottom that shows you the degree when you rotate. So that helps you to get your images to the same rotation degree on each side. And that's a really helpful little tool that's built in. So all I'm doing now is just tweaking my placement a little bit. I feel like it kind of looks like a spider. It looks like spider legs coming out. So I'm going to reposition and see if I can make it look a little bit better. And if you want to get really fine placement, you can also zoom in on your design, and it will be a little more in tune with your placement. You can go make smaller movements. Let me just make my words a little bit bigger and see if that helps me kind of get rid of the spider look. I'm going to make faith bigger. I'm going to make mountains bigger and make it go across the length of the mountains from one end to the other to maybe try to draw in the whole design together. And I don't want my words kind of overlapping the images, so I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller and maybe tilt it a little bit back to where it was normally to give it a better flow. So in this part, you can just tweak your designs. I really like that one, so I'm going to highlight the other one and just delete it, and then highlight this one all together and group it, and that way everything moves together whenever I click on it from now on. So I can just place it in the, center it up in the middle of my page. And I'm going to add another text box because I want to add a Bible verse to go with "Faith Can Move Mountains." So I'm going to grab a text box and just type in the verse that goes with this saying. And I'm going to center that up with my design. And then I'm going to pick a font that I want for the Bible verse. So again, you can scroll through and find any font that you want. Alright, so I'm going to go with that font. And I think just to add just a fun little design, I want to add maybe a dotted line or maybe an arrow just to kind of break up the wording there a little bit. So I'm going to go back to my elements and type in dot line, or you can type in line, or you can type in arrow, whatever, kind of whatever you're looking for to fill in here. I'm really not quite sure. I'm just kind of playing around with it. Let me see what arrow looks like. And when you type in arrow, you get all kinds of different options. So you do kind of have to scroll for a minute to find what you're looking for. I'm looking more for like the bow and arrow type look. And they have a lot of options to choose from. So it's fun to look and see what they have. I'm going to try this one, and I'm just going to spread it out to make it a little bit bigger and see. I like both of these. I like the arrow and I like the dot. That's a hard choice. I think they both look really good with this design. I think I'm just going to go with the dot, though. I think I like that a little bit better. Alright, so I'm going to delete the arrow because I'm not going to use it. Alright, and the last step is super important, especially for my Beta Club members. You're going to want to save this. So the way you do it is you click on Share, and you're going to click on Download. Make sure you have PNG selected. It should select automatically. And then you're going to click Transparent Background, and then Download. So that is super, super important that it's a transparent background and that it's PNG. If you're doing this for sublimation, you also want to make sure you're doing that anyway because you want your PNG and transparent background for when you print from your printing software. And you can see here that it should show up in your downloads. So mine came right to my downloads as soon as it finished, which is a really, really quick process. For my Beta Club members, what you'll do is you'll just start an email and you'll attach that PNG and send it to me. For this tutorial, I'm going to show one more design option. This is to help give Beta Clubs some more ideas just to be a little more creative. So I started a new page and I went to my elements and typed in circle. I am looking for a circle inside of a circle design, which I am going to make myself, and I'm just going to click on some circles here and see if it's something that I like. So I like this one and I just clicked it twice, or you can duplicate it. I'm going to make one bigger than the other and then put the smaller one on the inside. And I'm going to center it up to make sure I get everything as even as possible so my circles are not lopsided. I'm going to make that inside circle a little bit bigger and then make sure everything is centered correctly. You'll see all the purple lines are very helpful with making sure that you have it centered. And then I like to zoom in just so I can make sure I see it a little bit better. And I'm going to add text. All right, and then this is just a fun Beta Club shirt that I'm making. If this is something you want to duplicate or you want to use this as an idea and jazz it up a little bit, that is totally fine. I just saw this somewhere and got some inspiration for it. So I'm going to find a font that I want to use. I want kind of a thick font. And another fun thing about Canva is we can add curves to these fonts. So we're going to go over here, and I clicked on effects at the top and then came down to the bottom of the effects, and you click on curve, and this gives your font some fun curves to play with. And you just slide the bar from left to right, and that will let you pick the degree of your curve, like how much curve do you want or how straight you want it to be. So I'm just going to make my font bigger because I want it to fit as closely as possible to in between these two circles. And then I'm going to add my curve so that it'll bring it on around. And it helps to zoom in, like I said before, it helps to zoom in to give you some more, you can move things a little more finely. And here all I'm doing is spacing out my letters a little bit because I want it to take up more space in the circle. So you can add spacing between your letters and add spacing between your signs. So to make it easy on myself, I'm going to duplicate the text because I want the same font. And I'm just going to change the wording, and then I'm going to go back to effects and curve it in the opposite direction so that it curves up instead of down, and then just place it in between those lines and center it up the best that I can. All right, and now I have it placed where I want it, and I want to add some kind of text right here in the middle. You could add graphic design or whatever you want to do, but I'm just going to add some text here to give it, give it another layer. So I'm going to create my text box and make it a little bit bigger. Whoops, I didn't mean to grab that. I'm going to undo. The undo button is a lifesaver. All right, and I'm going to center that up, and I'm going to play around with the fonts here. And just try different ones that suit the design, different ones that I like. There are so many to choose from. I love that about Canva. I love that they have so many options. Also, though, when you're designing, it can eat away at your time if you're not careful, because you can spend a lot of time going through fonts and trying out different things. All right, I think I'm going to settle with this font. It's not my favorite, but I think it looks kind of cool for this beta t-shirt. And we wanted to make sure we do the same thing. Click on share. Make sure you have a PNG format and you click transparent background and you want to download it. So here I'm going to make sure that I just download the page that I'm on. I have 2 pages here that I'm working with, and you can download both of them at the same time. It just puts it in a zip file. So I'm going to do one at a time and hit save. And you'll see it's saving there, and it lets you know when it's complete. And if you just check your downloads, it will show up in your downloads, and that's what you're going to email to me if you are a Beta Club member. I'm going to need that design in PNG format. I also felt like I should include one more design. I am naturally not a creative designer. I have to have some inspiration, but I wanted to show this just for encouragement. If you are not a designer but you still want to contribute something, or if this is for a non-beta person that's watching this and you just want to create some t-shirts for a club or a school or a sport, it's really simple that you can just write the name of your team or the name of your school or the name of your activity or your fundraiser and just give it some fun fonts. So the font can actually act as your design for your t-shirt. So I'm simply going to put Beta Club, and that's all I'm going to do for this design. And I'm going to find some fonts. So let's scroll through here and find some that that kind of stand out, maybe that are a little bit different. I think I want something a little more exciting than that. Okay, here's one that I like. This gives a little 3D look to it. And I'm going to go up here to my spacing because I want to bring my lines closer together. That way my design is a little bit closer. You can also spread out your letters if you want to. I kind of like the spacing of the letters already, but I do like bringing it a little bit closer. And that way when I print it for my shirts, if you're doing sublimation, you can make your design bigger if your lines are a little bit closer together. And then just save it again the same way as a PNG. Make sure there's a transparent background and just save the page that you're working on so you don't have to save all the pages. And it will show you that it's saving, and it will show you when it's done. And it'll pop up in your downloads. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my tutorial. I hope that this gave you a little bit more information into how to use Canva. And just remember, this is very on the surface. I did not go deep into Canva and all the possibilities. I would love if you would subscribe to my channel and that you would like this video. If you want to leave a comment, that would be awesome. It helps me so much with my channel. It helps build my little business, and I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch my video and help support my business. I hope you have a blessed day.